at O Shows, where live music, dining, and entertainment come alive. Visit the iconic Arcada Theater at 105 East Main Street and experience the venue voted Chicagoland's premier entertainment destination. Whether you're enjoying a headliner concert, dining at Rock and Ravioli, or hitting the speakeasy at Club Arcada, O Shows creates memories. Tickets and event info at oshows.com, and you can call 630-962-7000. That's 630-962-7000. Make your reservation, bring your friends, and plan your next event at O Shows. Live music, dining, and entertainment, all in one place. Visit oshows.com and join the fun tonight. Supporter of the America's First Responder Fest.
Fixed bayonets, comrades. This is the Chief Guard of the Republic radio show with your co-hosts Mike Tuman and Paul Burvitt every Saturday, noon until 2 on WRMN 1410 AM. Coming also you can tune us in 1410 AM, but go to the streaming WRMN1410.com and you can stream us live. You get a much clearer signal if you're more than 10 miles outside of Elgin. And then you could also see us on the YouTube live channel, which is WRMN 1410's YouTube live channel, which after the show, sometime after, usually before the next show, I'll download it, remove the commercials, and upload it to our Chief Guard of the Republic YouTube channel. You can find all these links on cgr.silink.net. That's Charlie Golf Romeo .psylink.net, and all the links will be there. You could also just go to silink.net and it'll link you up. And if you go to the hamburger, the drop-down menu and say radio show, put you right there. So I'm really angry. I'm livid, and it's like it doesn't affect me. So why am I so livid? We're going to be talking about the Safety Act, all right? And it's just, it was a matter of time before something like this happened, which is a total abomination, which is something they said would never happen, but it absolutely happened. So I'm going to start out with a quote from Adam Smith. "Mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent." And this is beyond cruel, beyond cruel. Paul, I heard a rumor, maybe you could verify this or not verify it, but I heard a rumor that Judge John Fitzgerald Jr. is going to step down from the bench, sell everything he has, pass it off to the victims. Have you heard that rumor?
That's false. That's false.
It's a false rumor. What are the chances he's even going to blink?
Not much.
How about
but before we go on, I need to tell you something.
Yes.
I'm well acquainted with Judge Like. I worked with him for several years, so I know him very well. Okay, and he was an up and coming guy, and he got promoted in the office, and he went to the trial division, and he didn't last there very long, and not from anything that he did wrong. He only stayed a very short time in the trial division. He was in felony review, he was in prelims, and then he went out on his own, and he got famous for some cases he handled, and then he became a judge. And he kind of got famous during the pandemic. There was a guy that was saying something that he shouldn't have said, and it was on a Zoom because those Zooms got out in public because court.
Yeah, they're Freedom of Information Act.
Well, they were made public at the time, and he was telling the guy to be quiet, and so and then it's my understanding he's been given some responsibility on handling these calls with some of these repeat offenders. All right. But there's two other judges that were involved prior to this. There was Judge Habercorn, from what I understand, and there was, I believe, Judge Clancy, they're saying. but I based that on reports that I've heard. But so I know John Like very well. It's interesting to me. This is the interesting part to me, that the governor is calling him out, and all these politicians are calling him out. Because I watched the press conference, at least on Fox 32, that was done at the courthouse, where there's a elected rep. She's a rep, I believe. She's going to be part of she's part of city council. I think she's running for mayor, and there were some aldermen there. And I kind of find it interesting now. Well, the aldermen didn't really have anything to do with it, but the state legislators did. There's been it's been said that even Ray Charles could see that this was the ultimate goal of this. And what I mean by goal, it would be the ultimate result. And these poor officers are not the only ones that this has happened
Oh,
to.
what about the lady that had the crap beaten out of her shortly before that?
Well, not only that, wasn't the girl on the beach, wasn't that guy one of these people that I believe was out? So there's been a lot of people that have been injured by this, and if you read the law,
I read parts of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know why they did this. Okay, because this is all part of the narrative of the legacy media and the left, that rich people could buy their way out of jail while poor people rot in jail.
How about this? Connected people can buy their way out of jail over and over and over again without being rich.
Correct. But just to be fair now, a lot of the things that happened were I-bonds. And it didn't matter if they had money or not. An I-bond is where you go and they put up a value, say $10,000 I, and then you just sign your name and you don't put up the $10,000.
Individual recognizance bond.
Right. And the other secret about this is this has hurt the defense bar tremendously, because they were getting the bond refunds, and that was part of their fee. Okay. So if you don't put up any money for a bond, there's nothing for them to attach.
Well, Paul,
so a lot of them stopped doing these criminal cases.
All right, Paul. So one of the things of my understanding, now I came on the job back in 1990, right? And if they posted a cash bond or a D bond, they were not entitled to a public defender because they had money on the table.
That's not necessarily true, because if it was a small, like, you have to understand, a cash bond is 10%. Okay, so I bond is nothing. A regular D bond is 10%, and then a cash bond is everything. I can't tell you how many times in 34 years I had a real cash bond, except for maybe 1 or 2 times. Okay, so if you got a $25,000 D, okay, that meant you were putting up $2,500. That didn't exclude you from getting the public defender. Okay, and that didn't necessarily mean you made the bond. Now, there's another permutation to this. They have a scoring system, okay? And when you got into jail, the sheriff always had the opportunity to release you on EM.
Sheriff's bond.
Well, no, it's an EM. So they give you a bracelet, which is what a lot of these guys had. This guy that's been accused now.
His was a judicial ordered.
And they cut off the bracelet, and then they'd go out and do whatever they want. And then they said, hey, it's not fair. They should have 2 hours 1 day a week or 3 days a week to be able to go to get groceries, go to the doctor. So we're not going to monitor them for the 2 hours or the 3 hours a week. And then what would they do? They'd go out and commit crimes. I mean, it's ridiculous. See, this is the narrative of the left, that we've got so many innocent people.
No, we don't. That's the thing. We don't have so many innocent people.
Right.
We have
That's
one
right.
in 100,000 that might be innocent in there. 1 in 100,000. And just to save that one innocent person, we have to let 99,000 of them free. The guilty, right? Which is putting it on. That's their narrative. Prove it. What are the numbers of actual innocence? All right. What are the actual innocent numbers when you take all the convictions in Cook County, all the convictions? How many have been overturned by the Supreme Court of Illinois?
It depends.
But
Depends.
what percentage do you think? Just take all the convictions in the state of Illinois.
No, usually not very many.
Yeah.
But they don't necessarily overturn the convictions. What they do is they send them back.
So you're saying that there's even less. There's even less.
Right. They send them back for a new trial or a new sentencing or something like that.
They send them back so the police can look for the one-armed man, right?
Well, in that case, I was watching it.
Yeah,
last
that's
night.
the only innocent one, you know?
There was a one-armed man. but it's kind of sad because the thing that gets me, and the thing that would hurt me the most is, these communities, they're the ones pushing for this, and they're the ones having the greatest negative impact on them.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not people like you and me that are marauding and going and doing these crimes.
Or getting marauded. I'm 6 foot, 225 pounds, and I'm pretty violent when I need to be, right? And intimidating. I'm not a soft target victim.
Right, but we're not the ones that are marauding. They know who's marauding.
Yeah,
they know who it is. But yet, it's like the old joke. I was looking for my keys. Well, where'd you look for them? Well, I lost them in the kitchen, but I looked for them in the living room because the light was better. All right, it's stupid. You know that. And what's really bad is, I was, before the show, I've been having some internet connectivity problems with my printer and things like that. And I had to knock off my modem and stuff like that and reset everything. And I was watching the family members of this guy at the bond hearing. And it's always the same. It's always the same.
He didn't do nothing.
Well, no, he's a good guy. He's around children all the time. We love him. I'm going to tell you.
Okay, well, they loved him so much that they made him a ward of the state.
Right. I'm going to tell you something really sad and strange. There was a guy, and he was a murderer. Okay, he's a young juvenile. Okay.
Yeah.
And I always made sure, whether it was a detective or a youth officer, I always made sure the parent was there.
Oh yeah, no, you don't even deal with a youth officer, because youth officers are trained to be able to be in local parenti of that child. So and his job as a police officer. Now this is like a conflict of interest, right? They say his job as a police officer is to protect the rights of that child. That's it.
Right.
He's there to protect the rights of the child. But if I had a juvenile, I won't even talk to him. I know the youth officer's there. It's legal. It's legit. But you're asking for too much. Get the parent in there.
Well, I would have them both in there. And there was this one particular defendant, and this is what's really sad. I had the mother in there, and he was recounting how he murdered this guy. Okay. And I had the mother in there, and it turned out she went to the same high school that my mother went to. Okay, but my mother went there 20 years before her. And this woman was, I knew all about her because I talked to her. She worked at Marshall Fields at the time. And I talked to her, and we had this in-depth conversation, and the son was there. And I asked him if he wanted to do a statement. He did the statement, and he signed the statement, and the mother signed the statement, and the mother was in there the entire time, and I took their pictures, and with a Polaroid camera, and I made them initial it, and I did the whole thing. And by the time it got to trial, okay, she said she was never in there, okay, and that the statement was brought to her, and that I had purposely put mistakes in there to bring out to her to get her to initial, and she wasn't there at all, and and all this stuff. And it was kind of funny because the judge was actually it was Judge Tooman, okay?
Yeah, no relation, different spelling.
Spelled differently. And he in the sentencing, he said, this is really incredible. He goes, this state's attorney did exactly what he's supposed to do. He brought the mother in, he protected the child's rights, and yet, you acted like you weren't, and it was clearly obvious she was there. I had her picture in the room. You could see her signing the paper and everything, and he gave him like an extended term on the murder, which was good for the state. But and it brings up another point. Everybody has the right to plead not guilty, okay? And I don't want to get into the system too much. And there's a technical reason for that, because if the guy won't speak, they enter not guilty on your behalf. It's called pressing the plea or whatever. And the reason why you plead not guilty is to get a trial, because you never know what would happen in a trial.
Let's say you're looking at 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And you are guilty of sin, right? They got everything on you. They got all sorts of stuff on you, right? You're guilty. You got caught red-handed, smoking gun, everything else, right? Well, you're going to plead not guilty on account of you're waiting for the state to give you a plea that's going to give you less than 20 years. It's going to give you the best deal possible if you're a smart person, right? Now, I had a friend, an actual friend, and the guy was a convicted felon, probably, but real nice. He had found Jesus. He had found Jesus in prison. And when they offered him parole on his last felony armed robbery thing, he was doing felony time for armed robbery, he refused parole and continued and finished his term, right, without parole. And then the guy became the most police-friendly, law enforcement-friendly guy you had ever seen. All right, but he was, he'd found Jesus in jail, in prison. Great guy. All right, and before he did that, he was a bad guy, man. He was a bad dude, right? But afterwards, a close friend of mine, he had turned his life around. Now, one of the things on this, right, is that they're saying, did the judge have any leeway on this? Well, absolutely. He had every leeway in the world, because the crime that the guy was charged with is one of the crimes in the Safety Act that you could put the guy in jail for pending trial, or attach a cash bond to, right? A high bond to. And he had every right to do this. But, oh, look, he's got a newborn baby. He's turning his life around. He's going to college. All right. Okay, who's paying his city college fees? Probably a Pell Grant, right? So we're paying for it. And did he actually show up in college? That's the thing. You're giving this sob story to a judge, right? Hey, yeah, that's my baby. Okay, prove it. Where's the DNA test? Up. Are you ready for that stuff? But he gives a sob story, and the judge goes, well, seems like the defense attorney says he's maturing. He's 26 years old. He's maturing. 26. Okay, so if he's not mature, how come he has the right? Well, he's convicted felon, but before that, he had a right to vote. Well, if you're not mature enough, to decide your thing, how are you mature enough to decide everything for everyone else with the right to vote? It just makes no sense. So he released them again on the home monitoring thing. Now, they don't necessarily cut off the ankle bracelet. What they do is they have to have it hooked into a phone line. So someone's got to pay for a hardline phone. So they got to be monitored by the county through that hardline phone. Yeah, we got a caller. I think I know who it is.
Hello.
Hey, John, what's up?
Hey, I got a question.
Yes.
Has anybody ever asked you about the banks collecting donations for the honor flight?
No one's which bank? I know one of the banks is a strong supporter of it, but I don't know if they're collecting the donations for the honor flights. You could go to.
That's what I'm trying to get. And if if like for example, the Bank of America is nationwide, or Wells Fargo nationwide, you could just have there could be an account in every branch.
Well,
and if somebody wanted to make a donation to the honor flight, they'd get a receipt. That would be tax deductible. And
the honor flight is a 501c3, not a 501c19. It's a 501c3. And yes, but the best way to donate to the honor flight is to go to their webpage. So if you Google Honor Flight Chicago or Honor Flight Lake County or Honor Flight Milwaukee's another one, any of these honor flights, they'll have a webpage and there will be a donation thing there. So a lot of these, like if they take donations through PayPal, right? Donate right there. Click on it. So my buddy here. See, now you could just make a donation right on that website. Are you talking about going into a physical bank and saying, "Hey, I wanted to"?
Yes. Yeah. You got a patron of the bank. He walks in the door, and it says maybe there might be a poster. It says honor flight or nothing, but then
John, that's a good question. And I will call Honor Flight up and see if something like that exists, right? And I'll give you the answer on Tuesday.
Good enough. That'd be great, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks, John. John is one of our loyal, I call him Navy John, right? He's one of our loyal guys that goes to the Dunkin' Donuts Veterans every Tuesday morning, 9 a.m., 7039 West Dempster. At the Dunkin' Donuts there. Of course, the weather's getting better, so we might be out at the Bunker Hill Woods soon. But until then, it's every Tuesday morning, Dunkin' Donuts in Niles, 7039 Dempster. Bunch of veterans there. We talk about veteran stuff. You don't have to be a member. You don't have to sign anything. You don't have to pay any dues. Show up, whether you're a veteran or not. If you want to talk to veterans events or whatever, show up, talk to Carlos, talk to Roger. Those are the guys that run the thing, and they do a great job. So thanks, John. I got that plug in. So we're going to be, when we come back, we're going to further discuss this. And I got a strong point to make on the Safety Act. And in this case, how it's a miserable failure. And we got no.
In a few.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'm too fast. There we go. We got the music. Oh, yeah, the patriotic music. Love it. Dum, 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 dum.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
Both the Cubs and White Sox had the day off on Thursday. The Cubs start a series this afternoon hosting the Diamondbacks. 3-1 Colin Ray starts against Arizona's Zach Gallen. He's 1-1. The Cubs are hoping for good news on Dansby Swanson. He's listed as day-to-day with a lower body injury. Pitcher Daniel Palencia on the 15-day injured list with a lat injury. The 19-12 Cubs have wins in 7 of 10 and 2 straight. Noah Schultz starts for the White Sox at San Diego tonight. Schultz 1-1 on the season. He'll face 3-1 Germán Marquez. 3 straight wins for the Sox, who sit 3 games under 500 at 14-17. Right fielder Everson Pereira on the 10-day injured list, dealing with a pec injury. Left fielder Brooks Baldwin remains out long-term with an elbow injury. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
I'm Chuck Sanders on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
Progressive's Home Quote Explorer helps you easily find and buy the right coverage for you. It's everything you've always wanted. Well, I mean, as far as a website that lets you shop, quote, and buy insurance in one place. But hey, maybe that is everything you've always wanted. Yeah, people have different types of dreams. And if all you've ever been searching for is a website that helps you choose home insurance rates and coverage, boy, do we have great news about Progressive's Home Quote Explorer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-909-9696. 800-909-9696.
Fitting in shouldn't be hard, whether in life, on the court, or in the classroom. At Elgin Community College, you could find your place alongside those expanding their horizons, exploring rewarding careers, and achieving their dreams. A place for doers, thinkers, and believers. At ECC, we see you, we believe in you, and you'll fit right in. Learn more at elgin.edu/belong.
Building a house is hard, but have you tried removing one? Flood Brothers takes the mess out of demolition. With fast roll-off dumpster delivery, reliable debris pickup, and a family-owned team that takes service personally. Call 630-261-0400 or visit floodbrothersdisposal.com. Flood Brothers Disposal, proud sponsor of America's First Responders Fest.
This is Sarah Silver with your Fox Valley forecast, brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Starting today, a flood warning is in effect until Monday morning for the listening area. This afternoon, mostly sunny with a high near 56. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 40. Looking ahead to Sunday, a chance of rain showers with partly sunny skies and a high near 67. Currently, it's 50 and mainly clear. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
This is the highlight of my morning. Hey, what's up? It's Island.
And I'm Josh.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit is that it's our go-to morning comfort.
You've got that nice golden fluffy egg.
With a soft, flaky biscuit.
Crispy bacon.
Melty cheese.
You want something quick, you want something convenient, but most of all, you want something good.
There's no better way to start your morning.
There we go.
Start off the morning with a Chick-fil-A Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit with Simply Orange Juice. Order on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Fix Bayonets, comrades, this is Chief Guarded Republic Radio Show with your co-hosts Mike Tuman and Paul Burvitt every Saturday noon until 2. This is the second quarter of our show. If you're listening to us on 1410 a.m., now you know where your car dial's at. If you have a car dial, I remember the old ones where you tuned it in and then you pulled it out and then you pushed it back in and it was set. And now it's all electronic and complicated. But if you're having trouble getting it in that way, go to WRMN1410.com on your magic phone and hit listen live, and it'll hook into your Bluetooth things on your car, and you'll get a great show. And you can even use the YouTube live channel, WRMN1410.com. That has a slight delay. I'm watching myself now, and if I wave, it takes a couple seconds for me to wave back. And that's like a couple milliseconds, not as long as at the Pentagon. That was a good 3 seconds. And I would wave it back at myself. All right, so, here's the charges that he was released on were charges that could, according to safety law, end up with a bond, a cash bond or a no bond. A no bond where he's a flight risk, he's a danger to the community, and they're not going to let him out. All right. However, all of these charges, nothing absolutely mandates that there has to be a cash bond or that there has to be a cash bond or that they could be held without bond. It's the judge's decision now. They leave it up to the judge. So they say all these other ones, like, let's say I run a Northwestern Avenue used car dealership, right? And the state of Illinois finds me with 40 felonious titles in my in my possession. So I have 40 titles that should be felonies because I didn't adjust them right or whatever. So now I got 40 felonies against me, each individual. Guess what? I get the I-bond. I get the I-bond, and then I'm off into whatever third world country I had because I'm not going to face those 40 felony counts. I made my money. I stole my money. I did everything, and I got the heck out of here. Much like we're seeing in Minneapolis and stuff, people just fleeing ahead of the prosecutions. They're gone with the money. We got another caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, yeah. Hey, howdy. I used to live down in St. Louis. This is during the gas price rise during Jerry Ford and I guess Jimmy Carter.
Hey, it's San Francisco Dennis, right? Dave, San Francisco Dave.
Yeah.
Hi, San Francisco Dave. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, what I was leading up to was, gasoline prices just about bankrupted East St. Louis. And
no, I'm sorry. I have to disagree on that. The politicians bankrupted East St. Louis.
Dave,
they sent the guy
East
to prison.
St. Louis was like the murder capital of the United States at one time. We had to send a special group of our assistant attorney generals down there because they couldn't handle it. So crime and a lot of economic problems unrelated to gasoline. And they even made a movie about it, Dave. It's called New Jack City. So I don't think it was gasoline that ruined East St. Louis.
You're partially right. You're partially right because there was,
we had to send 20 prosecutors down there because of the boatload of murders.
But beyond that, didn't the feds put the mayor in prison?
Well, not only that, though, didn't the city go bankrupt?
They went bankrupt because the mayor stole all the money.
But they had to attach the government typewriters and stuff to pay judgments because they had no money. That politicians gasoline didn't cause the politicians to have.
Paul, I can put the connection together here. All right. The politicians had to steal because they couldn't afford to fill their gas tanks on their cars, on their
well, don't make jokes about
Mercedes.
This. What I'm leading up to is today, with gasoline prices just about doubling in the course of a month or something like that. A lot of cities across America are going to face. The fire trucks aren't going to be able to, deal with emergencies. You're seeing all of these super rich guys just cashing in like crazy because they're invested in gasoline, but the cities are going to be asking for higher taxes in order to survive the super rich who don't pay taxes.
Okay, well, I don't exactly agree with that. And because
I don't agree with it either. It's horrible. Dave, did you know that if are you on Medicare?
I'm eligible for it, sure, yeah.
Yeah. And what's your premium, Dave? About $182 a month?
Well, I think there's a standard amount probably in that range.
And Dave, the super rich, they have to pay like extra money for their Medicare. Some of them are paying thousands a month for their Medicare. So when you say the super rich don't pay taxes, Dave, it's all relative.
I want Dave to define the super rich. Dave, define the super rich.
Hey, Dave,
what
you want to know
level?
something? Dave, under the law, I'm super rich.
Well,
and I don't even make 100,000.
Remember when they said they said to Clinton?
Dave, allegedly I'm in the top 10% of the country. So that would be super rich if 90% are under me.
If you're not
so
making
Dave,
$100,000 a year, then you're not super rich.
No, but you're in the top 10%.
Yes, you are.
You're in the top 10%.
Yeah, Dave, 10%. If there's 90 below you, and you're at the top 10, you're super rich.
Well, that's
who they're coming after, Dave.
Right.
The middle class.
Paul, remember when Clinton said he was going to raise taxes on the rich?
Yeah.
And everyone.
It was everybody over 50,000.
30,000. Family of four over 30,000. Because one reporter cornered him and says, define rich. And he said, a family of four or more than 30,000. At the time, in Arkansas, living in a trailer that your parents had bought and everyone's still living there and you're not paying that and you're driving an old car that you inherited from your father, you could go pretty far on 30,000, right? That looked pretty good. But for everyone else in the world, no, that's true, Dave. That's absolutely true. Look it up.
Are you making up this crap?
No, I'm not. I'm not. So he was raising taxes basically on everyone.
Musk, super rich.
What is, okay, give me your definition of super rich, Dave.
Well, Elon Musk just about bankrupted Tesla.
No, Dave, you're not giving me the definition, Dave.
Do you want an answer or not?
No, I want a straight definition. How much a year do you have to earn to be super rich?
Are you just making up crap to lie?
No.
Okay, let me answer that.
All right, well, give me a numerical answer.
Tesla, and then all of a sudden Tesla says that they're going to give him $1 trillion.
Nikolai Tesla, he died poor, penniless.
Jokes.
Goodbye, Dave.
Elon Musk.
Thanks. All right, so Dave was a little off. I know. I like Dave. Dave listens to us. I don't know. I don't know if Dave's even legit with this stuff. But I'll take the calls from Dave and everything, and it's kind of off topic, so I don't know if he's listened to us or if he just calls in to make a statement, right? But the topic here, right, is the Safety Act in Illinois. All right? And like I said, the judge absolutely had the what do you call it? The used to say officer. We used to give people breaks on traffic tickets. We can't do that anymore. And we would call it, Paul, help me out with the word.
A diversion?
No, not a diversion, but you can do it or you can't do it. Right? Not a statement adjustment. No, you can do it or can't do it. It's your, why am I so bad at words? It's based on my own good thoughts or bad thoughts about the idea. I have the option.
Subjective?
There's another word for it. Jeez. I see Matt's there. Look up a thesaurus word for subjective, right? Oh, man. Here comes Dean. Discretion. Dean's out in the car listening to us. Dean, you're looking real good. Man, he's looking good. He's sharp. He's all dressed up. Man, he's looking sharp. All right. Anyways, yeah. Officer discretion. So the judge has judicial discretion in setting the bond. And he used his judicial discretion and let someone that 99.9% of the people that can actually breathe on their own, right, would say that's a bad idea. You go, well, how do you know the rock's going to fall if you drop it off the building? Well, because it always has. Well, how do you know this guy's going to be recidivist? Well, because he always has. 99. And then what is the reason he did that except for something called restorative justice? I can't see a basis in letting this guy go at all. At some point, the guy, He's 26 years old with 9 felony convictions. 9. That means you couldn't go to jail for a felony until you're 18 at his age, right? So he had 8 years, less than 8 years, right? He had like 7 years to get 9 felony convictions. And maybe he had to spend 2 years in prison, so he only had like 5 years. That's a lot of work to pump into 5 years. The judge should look at that and say, hey, but he didn't. It's restorative justice. It's the judge, and we have this a lot. Yeah, Dean, you're going to join us? I could. Yeah, you could. Anyways, we have this a lot, and they see it on the federal courts, where the federal courts are doing all this restorative justice stuff, but now we have it on the base level for everyone to see. Everyone. And there's not much out there of them pushing against this guy and pushing against the others, all right? So maybe now, if he has a little bit of media surveillance, and of course, the police department, the Chicago Police Department, our FOP, and all the other, like the state's attorneys and everything out there, because the state's attorney says, man, we fought against this. We wanted him in jail, in custody. But the judge just let him go. So hopefully the good that'll come out of this is a lot of the other, quote, restorative justice judges out there. God forbid I went in front of one of them, because I didn't think I would get any leniency. Well, I've never been convicted of a crime.
As long as they didn't listen to your show, you'd probably have a shot.
Yeah. That's right. We got Dean, the station manager, here with us. It's great. Yeah. And you're also a former police officer.
Former law enforcement, firefighter. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, and that was a difficult thing. I mean, no one wants to see your brother, whether you're still in the business or out of the business. They're still your brothers and sisters in law enforcement, first responders. But yeah, this was a definite situation. I think the judge could have listened to the state's attorney and said, okay, you're raising up some very important issues here. And I don't necessarily totally agree with you that what makes you think this guy is going to, be a member of the recidivism or not. I don't know that just because he's committed a few crimes that he's going to keep committing crimes. Everybody deserves a second chance. I believe in that.
Dean, you are correct. Second chance is nice.
Right.
23rd, 50th chance. At some point, you have to stop.
Well, my point is, in this particular case, if I have the facts correct, he was already on a bond. So it was like a bond-on-bond situation.
It was 2 bonds. He was on 2 bonds.
Well, there you go.
So no one ever charged him with violation of bail bond.
Yeah. So how could you allow a man like that to be out? I mean, look at the downside of what took place.
And so I had a case, and this was great, because the guy was actually being lawfared against by a former girlfriend, right? And this is an older guy. He has no children with her. I guess they had a short relationship, and she's lawfaring the heck out of this guy, and she keeps having him arrested for domestic violence. And the police, as long as she signs the complaints, the police have like 0 leeway on that, right? So this guy kept getting arrested to the point where he begged, when they put him on bond, he begged the judge to have his to have the ankle bracelet, the monitor on him at all times. Now, it wasn't where he could stay at home or anything. It would just be where it would geolocate him.
Yeah,
a GPS.
identify his position.
If he ever got near her or near her address or anything, that he'd violate his bail bond. And she had him locked up again, saying that he was with her and he was screaming at her from his car, and it was at this intersection and everything. It was absolutely him, and even his daughter could identify him. It was him. And I had to get a subpoena from Cook County to get these records. And when I got the records, it showed him 5 miles away. 5 miles away. He wasn't there. He was absolutely legit. He says she does this all the time and everything. And I got the state's attorney there because I had to bring in the state's attorney because this was one of the cases. All right. So guy goes to Cook County Jail. You lock him up for some domestic beef. And he has no bond. That's one of the things they won't bond you on. It's domestic violence. They won't do it. You got to post a cash bond or whatever. So after 2 weeks of being kept in this, in Cook County, which isn't a nice place, right? This gentleman, they offer him a deal. We'll give you time considered served, right? We'll give you time considered served, plead guilty. All right. So he says, okay, well, that's better than waiting and going to court and everything. I'll take it. You know, what's the guilty? This is the first guilty on this guy's life. He's in his late 50s. He's one of these rare guys in the ghetto. Never had a problem with the police, right? So now he's got this one. Every other time he gets hit on this domestic beef from this lady, it's a felony. It's a felony upgrade. So you got to call out the state's attorney to approve the felony upgrade. Now, I go through all this work. I get the subpoena. The state's attorney's there. She lies to the state's attorney, obviously. She has her daughter who's younger, and it didn't matter because the daughter was too young to be qualified without taking her to Child Advocacy Center, right? And they lie, right? And now it's proven that she's lying. And I tell the state's attorney, I go, good, let's charge her with false official police report and perjury because she signed those complaints. And he goes, well, you're going to have to call, and you're going to have to make a report and call another state's attorney. I says, well, stick around, buddy, because you are now an eyewitness to all this. So you're a named witness, so stick around because you're going to have to talk to the other guy in the office and tell him why he had to come out here. And then I gave up on it because it wasn't really worth it. But yeah, there's an innocent guy there, right? Innocent. One of the few innocents and everything. But guess what? He still, even under Safety Act, he still would be in Cook County Jail because it was a domestic beef.
And there's no discretion on domestics either.
No.
When you get a call for a domestic and you're the first arriving jurisdiction, automatically one or the other, depending on the marks on the person, you get locked up.
Yeah, see that's one of the ones where the judges have no discretion. They have to do it,
right?
Because they know. Just, all right, so like you were talking about, Dean, the likelihood of a domestic repeating itself after the guy gets out of jail. Highly likely, right? But we can't prove that it'll happen, right? Same thing with this recidivist 9-time convicted felon getting released. Well, can you prove it would happen? Well, no one can prove the future. I can't see the future. He could, he could walk out of the building, get hit by a truck.
Let me just say something, and you're both 100% right, okay? Except there's a victim somewhere, okay? So a friend of mine became judge, okay? And he was in the military, and he was a Chicago policeman, and he was a Secret Service agent, and he was a judge in the military, So he became a judge, and we were friends. And that's one of the things you'll find out is judges don't have too many friends because they can't seem like they're associating with people. Now, I've had cases where judges own property with people that they try to conceal from me and things like that. And then somebody along the way said, well, you need to know that I own a house with him or an estate with him or whatever. But so this friend of mine was judge, and when you're a state's attorney, you have to do bond court. And usually you do night bond court or weekend bond court. And it's really not a real big hassle, You got to go down there, and they used to have a room called the Leads room. And you knock on the door, and you go inside, they do like an eye scan of you. And there's a bunch of people in there that are all certified leads operators, and they're running the names of the folks that are, in there. And so anyway, so I get this lead sheet, and it was a guy. He was charged with beating up whatever, his girlfriend or whatever, And I said to the judge, now, one of the things I never did is I never, ever recommended an amount for bail. Okay, because that's not my job. But I would recommend either no bail, high bail, or I said we don't object to a low bond or a recognizance bail. Those were the only 4 things I ever said. So this guy had beaten up his girlfriend. And I said, Judge, in light of the circumstances, we feel this guy's a danger and we recommend a high bail. Now, I know what was going through his mind. He was acting like, he had been my boss for a while too, and at both places actually, and he thought he was going to exercise his discretion, and kind of maybe put me in my place or whatever. He's not, because the state's attorneys usually always recommend bail. So he put the guy on recognizance. This was like a Saturday, okay? And I was working bond court on Sunday, and he wasn't the judge. And the guy came back. He got out and he killed his girlfriend, all right? And it just so happened my parents and I were having dinner with him. So we went up to the north side. We went to Horwatz. And, I said, hey, how's it going? And he goes, fine. I go, I just want to let you know that, when I recommended that high bond yesterday, there's a reason for it. I go, he got out, because you gave him an I bond, and he killed her the next night. And he goes, wow. So,
but
it's all well and good till we think about the girl or the family member or the policeman, you know, and usually if everybody does their job, the system works, but everybody doesn't do their job. Right. And it's really hard, when you think of, that, because had I not recommended a high bond, I would be in the judge-like situation. Okay. So, and then the other one was very tragic. I was working branch 66, which is all the homicide and sex offenders.
Yep.
And I went before a judge who we also knew he was in the office, and the killer of Officer Seriali came in. And my boss pulled me off to the side and she said, talk to the judge and let him know that he let this guy out on Thursday or Friday, and then he shot the officer under the vest on Saturday. And this was like a Monday, all right? So I said, hey, Judge, just so you know, he was before you on whatever, Thursday or Friday. You released him, and he killed the officer on Saturday. And he goes, well, and he looked at me with a straight face, and he said something that I'll never forget. He said, well, I'm just going to say that the state hasn't met their burden. And that was it.
All right. When we come back, second half of the Chief Guard of the Republic talking about the Safety Act and its failures.
Before the weather gets too cold, it's time to finish up those outdoor jobs. That's why ComEd wants you to know that electricity can jump from a power line to you and to the tools you're using. So maintain a safe distance from any power lines. You can also call ComEd at 1-800-EDISON-1 to have those power lines de-energized the next time you do any work around them. Stay smart, stay safe, stay back. ComEd, powering lives.
This year, America's First Responders Fest 2025 was a huge success, and we couldn't have done it without the Village of Burlington and Village President Mary Kay Welsen. Your support helped bring the Fox River Valley together in the Village of Hampshire to celebrate the heroes who keep us safe every day. Thank you, Village of Burlington, for standing behind America's First Responders Fest 2025 and for standing with those who serve.
Your hometown radio station since 1949. We are WRMN AM 1410, Elgin time, 1 o'clock.
With your news flash, I'm Ryan Gatenby, brought to you by Cintas.
Kane County State's Attorney Jamie Mosser says federal agents who used pepper balls and chemical agents against protesters during a December immigration arrest in Elgin will not face criminal charges. Mosser says video appears to show at least one agent committing aggravated battery under Illinois law, but federal protections under the Supreme Clause prevent state prosecution. She called the actions reprehensible and urged federal officials to review the incident for possible discipline and training changes. Hanover Township's third annual Kite Festival will be held May 9th from 10 a.m. to noon at Carl R. Hansen Woods Forest Preserve in Hoffman Estates. The free event celebrates Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and the cultural history of kites. Families can fly kites, enjoy free activities, and visit educational displays from Crabtree Nature Center, along with food, a bounce house, and a special animal appearance from Brookfield Zoo, Chicago. Free kites will be available while supplies last. 2 juveniles have been arrested in connection with early Sunday morning gunfire in Elgin, according to police. Officers responded around 2:15 a.m. to reports of shots fired near Bowen Court and Regent Street, but no injuries were reported. Both suspects were later taken into custody and charged with multiple felonies, including aggravated discharge of a firearm and unlawful possession of a weapon. They are being held for detention hearings at the Kane County Juvenile Justice Center. Naperville's Kingsley Elementary PE teacher Kimberly Blytek has been named Illinois Elementary School PE Teacher of the Year by the Illinois Association for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. The award recognizes outstanding performance in physical education and student engagement. Blytek, a longtime District 203 educator, is known for leading programs like Field Day, Cardio Club, and a peer mentoring initiative that pairs students with special education peers.
I'm Ryan Gatenby with your news flash.
Snapshot from Progressive wasn't created for just anybody. Oh no, we made it for you. Smooth accelerators. When that light turns green, you're off. Like a warm knife through firm butter. Going from 0 to the speed limit in an appropriate amount of time. Sure, your car has horsepower, but your horses prance around as silky smooth as your right foot. Fancy Prancerton. With Snapshot, safe drivers like you get personalized rates based on your driving habits. Sign up today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-909-9696. 800-909-9696.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
The Cardinals beat the Pirates 10-5 in Pittsburgh Thursday. That completes a 4-game sweep. J.J. Weatherholt led off with a home run against Paul Skeens, who got tagged for 5 runs over 5 innings. 4 of those were earned. Pittsburgh's losing streak hit 5. Alec Burleson finished with 3 hits and drove in 3 runs for the Cards. Weatherholt, Pedro Pajas, and Nolan Gorman each with 2 hits. The Cards head back home to welcome the Dodgers for a series. The Cubs start a series this afternoon hosting the Diamondbacks. 3-1 Colin Ray starts against Arizona's Zach Gallen. He's 1-1. The 19-12 Cubs have wins in 7 of 10 and 2 straight. Noah Schultz starts for the White Sox at San Diego tonight. Schultz 1-1 on the season. He'll face 3-1 German Marquez. 3 straight wins for the Sox, who sit 3 games under 500 at 14-17. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
I'm Chuck Sanders on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
How was your break? It was great until I stopped for gas. Prices have gone up almost $1 with no end in sight. I might have to start watching how much I drive. That's exactly why I use Upside. I never pay full price for.
This is Sarah Silver with your Fox Valley forecast, brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Starting today, a flood warning is in effect until Monday morning for the listening area. This afternoon, mostly sunny with a high near 56. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 40. Looking ahead to Sunday, a chance of rain showers with partly sunny skies and a high near 67. Currently, it's 50 and mainly clear. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
This is the highlight of my morning. Hey, what's up? It's Island.
And I'm Josh.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit is that it's our go-to morning comfort.
You've got that nice golden fluffy egg
With a soft, flaky biscuit,
crispy bacon.
melty cheese.
You want something quick, you want something convenient, but most of all, you want something good.
There's no better way to start your morning.
There we go.
Start off the morning with a Chick-fil-A Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit with Simply Orange Juice. Order on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Since 1960, Fox Valley Fire and Safety has been dedicated to caring for our customers and protecting our community. What began in a family basement with just 2 employees has grown into a team of more than 300, supported by nearly 200 service vehicles. But our mission has never changed. We're here to keep the people and businesses we serve safe. Our service technicians are available 24/7, 365 days a year across Northern Illinois because your safety can't wait. To learn more, visit foxvalleyfire.com or call 847-695-5990. A proud member of the Elgin Area Chamber of Commerce, supporting the local business community.
Fix Bandits, comrades, this Chief Guard of the Republic radio show. Back for the second half of the show with Paul Burvid and me, Mike Tooman. All right. So, Paul, again, trying to get my senses clear on this. All right. So, you know, as one of the things in the Safety Act, right, which, again, like I said, when I called in the state's attorney to come review the thing on the guy, and then the woman had lied like to the state's attorney and everything, and we proved it. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? You know? And I'm like, okay, so you're going to make me jump through hoops for this and everything for pretty much. Anyways, one of the parts of the Safety Act is police officers have to wear body cams. All right? The body cams. It's mandated. All police departments, state of Illinois, by something 2025, had to have body cams. Right? So everyone thought, what? Oh, we're going to catch so many police. They're going to be so corrupt, and they're going to be so abusive, and they're going to be so excessive force and everything else. And all the body cams catch is is video of people implicating themselves, of people committing crimes, of people resisting the police, of people assaulting the police, of people committing all these crimes. And how many prosecutions do we have based on these video cams? None. Zip.
Here's the thing. I want to say two things before I say this. Okay. In the old law, there was a thing: proof evident and the presumption great. And if the proof was evident and the presumption was great, there were offenses that there would never be bailable, whether, they would be no. And, there's I don't know if you're familiar with the word jury tax. Are you familiar with the word jury tax?
I am not.
Okay. At 26th Street, there's a common belief that if you don't plead guilty and your case goes to a jury and the jury finds you guilty, you're going to get a bigger sentence. And I've actually been in conferences where people, defense attorneys, have asked the judge that, and a lot of judges, and rightfully so, would say, I don't ever punish anybody for exercising their right to a jury. But I want to ask you something. We talked about, and we went to break after that. We talked about all these people are plead not guilty, right? Now, if they plead guilty later or they're found guilty, aren't they a liar?
No, Because
they are.
They are. Well, no, I'm going to, yes, you can say that, but in their own mind, they have, in their mind, in thinking, like, if you're a sociopath, can you ever plead guilty?
I understand that, but they're still a liar, whether or not, because they did do it, or they said they'd do it. Now, you were talking about you're talking about the body camera, and I'm going to go one before this. All right. So I worked in night narcotics, and you do trials, and you do trials at night. But if it's a jury, you do trials in the daytime. Okay. And all my time, I did hundreds of trials, and I've lost like only a handful. In fact, at my retirement party, they were joking around. They said I really never lost a trial, but I did. I lost maybe 4 or 5 out of thousands of cases. But I was doing a night narcotics trial, and the officer got out and he testified that they got out of their car and they saw a guy open a car door, and he dropped a huge rock of cocaine.
Bag of rocks.
And then, no, it was a huge. It was in a can.
He was getting ready to make it a bag of little ones. He was ready to make little ones out of big ones.
Yeah, and it was like in a paint can or coffee can, and he dropped it, and then you could hear him lock the car, do, and then he started running. And then the officer testified that he chased them through a gangway, and then he went up an alley. And then he did this and he did that, and he did all this, right? So this defense lawyer, who's now a judge, and he was a former policeman, he wanted to impeach the officer with the audio of the radio call. He had subpoenaed it, and we played the audio. And you want to know something? It was the same thing the officer said, even better though, because we could actually hear him. You could hear the can drop on the street. You could hear the door slam. You could hear the dee. You could hear the walking in the alley.
Yeah, they're running.
North. All through the thing, right? And when he was done, the judge looked at him. He goes, "Are you stupid?" He goes, "That's exactly what he testified to. How does that help you?" And that's your point. When you create a boogeyman that all police are bad, that all our people are innocent, they're being targeted. Again, I'm not going over there and shooting them. It's the dog dealer in the neighborhood or the gang member in the neighborhood. It's not like I'm a marauder going into 45th and Blackstone and doing this, or 17th and Argyle or wherever. The people are known. It's a quantified element, and they're the ones doing it. So when you set this up, you're providing defenses, because that's what everybody says. Like the woman says, I wasn't in the room when Paul Burvitt took the statement. He only brought it to me, when there was a mistake. People will believe that unless they have evidence to the contrary. And this, it's a narrative that gets votes. It's a narrative.
Yeah, no, that's it. They're just buying their votes.
That clouds true facts. That's exactly what's going on. Now, to your point, I don't think a lot of people realize this, okay? But the Safety Act was basically designed to harm law enforcement.
Absolutely.
That's all it was.
Absolutely.
Because what it did is created all these requirements for training, because officers are bad. It created all these requirements for training.
There's nothing wrong with training. There's nothing wrong with training. Who's going to fund it, though? Here's the thing. The state of Illinois is 100% in violation of their own law that they passed that says every DNA thing, every rape kit that they bring in, everything that needs to be tested for DNA, everything that's sent to their lab is required to be processed within 90 days. I've been retired for 10 years, and 10 years before that, I was sending in rape kits, and not one of them has come back from the state of Illinois. They pick and choose what they want. It said everyone. They're in violation of their own law. Why? Because they made this law, and they didn't fund it. They didn't staff it. So you make this law on the police, but you don't fund it, and you don't staff it, right? Until you want to use it to violate people or to push them. But these little departments, okay, you got to have the cameras. Well, where is it in the law saying that you're going to pay for the cameras now because you're mandating it, right? Okay, so one of the things, it used to be they could only hold our disciplinary records for like 5 years, right? So if you come on the job in 1990, right, and you got a beef right away, then 5 years from them, the city's got to put that stuff in the shredder. It's got to be gone, right? Because either you're punished or whatever, it's not supposed to be kept in your records. They're not supposed to keep records of that. That was part of our contract. The city massively violated our contract by keeping those records. That was our contract. That was one of the things we got, so we take less pay, right? But the city never intended to do that. They kept the records so they could use them in the future. And none of the arbitrators ever said, well, you violated your contract with these officers now. So either, pay them more or do something, right? Punish the city for that. But they made an agreement knowing they wouldn't follow up on it. Now they have a thing. It used to be, right? And again, we got this in our contract, right? That we could have no more anonymous complaints. Someone had to come in and sign an affidavit to say you actually did that. What do you have a right to in court, Paul? To confront your...
You have the right to confront your accuser.
Not if you're a police officer in the city of Chicago. You don't, because they have anonymous complaints, and the city will act on them with COPA, whatever that stands for. We call it Office of on Professional Services, Office of people that think they're investigators, they're hacks. IAD, people that want to make sergeant as meritorious, so they get sent to IAD to do those things, right? And they investigate these things based on anonymous complaints. And guess what? You're under scrutiny, right? And if they get a bunch of them, they say, oh, it's a pattern of behavior now. Now, Paul, I go home and I call in to the 16th District TAC office, right? And I say, hey, my neighbor is dealing drugs. And I know they got drugs, but I want to remain anonymous. But I assure you, on my life, I assure you that they got drugs and they're dealing them. Go in the house, you'll find them. Now the neighbor goes to the judge and say, hey, issue a warrant for this. We have an anonymous complaint. Is that a confidential informant registered and everything else? No, it's just an anonymous complaint. And the judge goes, oh, no problem. Here you go. Go into her house, kick it in, get everything out of there. Oh, they didn't find anything. So now they bring her in for 2 days and they question her hold her and question her for 2 days. And they go, oh, we don't got anything, released without charging. Goodbye. That's what it's like to be a police officer with an anonymous complaint. But guess what? No judge in the world will sign a search warrant on an anonymous complaint, right? Or maybe some judge. I shouldn't say, again, there's probably one or two out there that would actually do that.
You got to be careful because what the current president has alleged, that maybe they signed warrants with no complaints or with fabricated evidence or
they
with
absolutely
no evidence.
Did.
So
that's a FISA.
Don't say never. Don't say never.
That's FISA. And FISA's an abomination.
Right.
It's an abomination of our constitutional rights. They can say, oh, but we got these secret processes going on and we have to do this. Did they use it against terrorists? No.
No.
They used it against their political foes. Right?
Right.
So they take something and they make it a nice thing. They're like, oh, well, this sounds real good, so we'll get this all going and everything, and everyone will be glad because we're doing this because we gotta protect what are the names of the fake CIA agents and everything on TV and in the movies. We gotta protect our sources and everything else and our operatives out there. So we have to do this confidentially. I'm like, no. And then you got the judges that are doing it confidentially, so no one knows who these FISA judges are. That's ridiculous. That is actually what San Francisco Dave would be saying is you're just making that stuff up. If I was a FISA judge, if they signed as a FISA judge, I'd be like, dude, you're just making this stuff up, aren't you? Yeah.
Oh, and to Dave's point, $150,000 for a family is well-to-do in the United States. So,
yeah, 150,000. So that's the top 10%. Make more than 150,000. So we're not in the top 10%.
Well,
we're rich, but we're not super rich.
Right.
And we're definitely not 1%ers.
But I don't consider 150,000 to be super rich either.
Not now. Not today's, you're
Oh, and it also depends on where you live.
You're middle class at best.
It also depends on where you live.
And how many people are working?
Correct.
And you're working, your wife's working. All right, $75,000 a head. That's $75,000 isn't a lot of money. It's like $25,000 a year, $25 an hour, maybe. All right, but you're both working, so you're not giving time to your kids. You don't have as much time together. Maybe you're working alternate shifts and everything. Yeah, it's all a bunch of nonsense. And they tax the rich, eat the rich, everything else. I got an idea. Tax everybody the same. If I set a 10% flat tax, Paul, right? 10% flat tax. Well, a guy that's got $120 billion and he's clearing, let's say 5% of that. So it would be like $6 billion a year, right? That's profit that he's making just on interest. Let's say he's worth that much. We're not going to tax him on his net worth every year. You tax him on what he's making, right? So his interest money is bringing in, right? It's bringing in $6 billion. So you tax him 10% of that, that's $600 million, right? And a guy that's bringing in $15,000, what does he pay? $1,500. Everyone pays 10% across the board. Eliminate the IRS for most of them, right? Eliminate all these tax things. Put all the accountants out of business. Put the tax lawyers out of business, right? Eliminate all those cottage industries and bam. All right. So now you're actually taking 10% of your gross domestic product and making that your budget. Right?
Right.
There you go. It's simple, but no one wants to do that. Right? Here, why to plead guilty? We're talking about this. Why would you plead guilty? So in my perfect world, all right, I have a prison system that's set up. One prison system has individual rooms. Right, individual cells. All right, 6 foot by 6 foot cell for individuals who have pled guilty because they're dangerous. They know they're dangerous, so we keep them separated. Everyone else that pled innocent and maintains their innocence goes in a 6 by 6 foot by 6 foot cell with 5 other innocent people. Because why would an innocent person, as gentle as a lamb, working on his education and a family man, hurt anyone else? Right? So what I say is, people say, well, our prisons are overcrowded. I says, no, they're underutilized. Put 6 people in. I've lived 40 people in a tent in the Army, and I committed no crime. Slept on the ground in a sleeping bag. Didn't have a bed, didn't have a mattress, didn't have anything like that, right? Didn't have flush toilets, right? All right, so underutilized, but you got the big crocodile tear like, oh, that's cruel and unusual. Cruel and unusual to who? What makes you say that's cruel and unusual punishment? Because if you don't get your half and half instead of milk with your Captain Crunch in the morning, that's cruel and unusual punishment. So you can't imagine living under those type of conditions yourself. So why should anyone else do it? So the Safety Act was absolute what you said, Paul. It's an attack upon the police. And so if you are fighting an enemy, I'm going to call crime an enemy. So my dad had a saying, there's the 4 riders of the apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
War, hunger, pestilence, and death. He says there's a 5th rider. Crime. All right? So you're fighting against this enemy called crime. How do you win against the enemy called crime? Well, you start taking the criminals prisoner and taking them off the battlefield. Less criminals on the battlefield, less crime. So you put them away in the prisoner of war camps because criminals, prisoner of war, right? How do you defeat the police that are fighting this war? How do you make sure that the police are worse off and worse off?
They made me a criminal.
No, you take the people out of the prisons and you put them back out in the street. Then you
also
defund the police, you vilify them, and you reduce their numbers because no one. Okay, if the police was officer-friendly job, back in the day and everything, and people respected you and all that, and you had family respect and everything, it was a good job. Not a great job, but it was a recession-proof job, right? And you had some benefits, and your family could be taken care of. So a lot of people aspired to get that job, maybe to move up in the world, maybe to become a lawyer, maybe to understand the criminal justice system, maybe to be a judge in the future, maybe to be a politician. Now, oh my God, the poor people that become the police, some great people, but they're fighting such a fight. And the real good ones that really want to do their job, I'll tell you what, there are people there to become the police because they say, oh, this is going to be the easiest no-show job because I'm connected. I'll show up, I'll get a desk job, I'll get moved into community policing, and I'll do nothing. For the same price that the guy that's out there wearing 40 pounds of body armor, right, carrying the guns on his hip, carrying the taser, carrying the pepper spray, carrying all that stuff with him, right? Out there in the sweaty, hot, sometimes non-air conditioned car or anything, or standing on a corner wearing all that stuff. Hey, I'm getting paid the same as that girl sitting in the station. And not girl or guy, right? And guess what? Suddenly, they're moving up to be sergeant, lieutenant, deputy superintendent, who last name was the same name as a guy that was caught doing armed robberies while driving her car. Right?
Wasn't it a girl? It was a girl, I thought.
She's a female, yeah. But she retired shortly after that. Amazing. Second shortest term of a deputy superintendent in the history of Chicago. The shortest being by the former commander of auto theft, who moved up to be deputy superintendent, got fired the same night he started because he was a goof. But these people all moved up, right? They all moved up without really producing anything, without even paying their dues. They just would have. So you get on the job knowing that you're connected. Boom, we'll get you up there. We'll get you up to the $180,000 pay scale. When you retire, you'll be getting $150,000 in retirement. You'll never really have to do work, but you'll have to wear a nice uniform once in a while, And then, you'll have to deal with a little bit of headaches, but yeah, we'll all take care of each other. We all go to the same Alcohol Anonymous meetings. So we all got dirt on each other so we don't flip on each other. That's the way I saw it. That was pretty true at the time. I was like, man, these guys must go to the same AA meetings. They do. They got dirt on each other. And that's one way to move into the job, go into the job for that purpose. But the poor guys that are going there because it's a recession-proof job and you want to feed your family and want to have some stability and everything, yeah, you get caught in it. You get caught. It's dead end. It's absolute dead end. And these kids are working, and these guys are working, and these girls are working, and they just want to survive. And the politicians who never missed a meal in their life want them all dead. When we come back.
Yeah, for the last segment.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
The Cubs start a series this afternoon hosting the Diamondbacks. 3-1 Colin Ray starts against Arizona's Zach Gallen. He's 1-1. The 19-12 Cubs have wins in 7 of 10 and 2 straight. Noah Schultz starts for the White Sox at San Diego tonight. Schultz 1-1 on the season. He'll face 3-1 German Marquez. 3 straight wins for the Sox, who sit 3 games under 500 at 14-17. The Cardinals beat the Pirates 10-5 in Pittsburgh Thursday. That completes a 4-game sweep. J.J. Weatherholt led off with a home run against Paul Skeens, who got tagged for 5 runs over 5 innings. 4 of those were earned. Pittsburgh's losing streak hit 5. Alec Burleson finished with 3 hits and drove in 3 runs for the Cards. Weatherholt, Pedro Pajas, and Nolan Gorman each with 2 hits. The Cards head back home to welcome the Dodgers for a series. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive.
I'm Chuck Sanders on News Talk Radio 1410 WRMN.
Straight Talk Wireless presents Pickup Truck Wisdom.
If you're only good to your new friends, you're not going to have any old ones. Straight Talk gets it. That's why new and existing customers get free 5G phones on Verizon's 5G network. Pretty simple, really. You keep good people by being good people.
Find us at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Straight Talk Wireless. Straightforward. Always. Taxes and fees apply. Plan purchase required for free phone offers. Copyright 2026 Verizon.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Are you dreaming of a getaway? Want to leave the stress of daily life behind? Whether it's a relaxing cruise or an adventurous land escape, planning the perfect vacation doesn't have to be a hassle. At Cruises International, they specialize in vacation destinations, land and sea, making your dreams come true. Located at 1721 Moon Lake Boulevard in Hoffman Estates, Cruises International isn't just about booking travel. They're your personal concierge, trusted travel advisor, and advocate. Your preferences are unique, and they'll take the time to understand exactly what you're looking for. From personalized service to their global network of specialists, they ensure that your vacation is tailor-made just for you. It's time to plan the vacation of a lifetime. Call 800-255-7447. That's 800-255-7447 today. And speak to a cruise and vacation expert. Cruises International. It's time to set sail to your dream destination.
This is Sarah Silver with your Fox Valley forecast, brought to you by KFC. Starting today, a flood warning is in effect until Monday morning for the listening area. This afternoon, partly sunny with a high near 56. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 40. Looking ahead to Sunday, a chance of rain showers with a high near 67. Currently, it's 52 and mainly clear. I'm Sarah Silver on the Talk of the Town, WRMN.
Hi, I'm Zoe, a personal stylist at Macy's Herald Square, and I live for our Friends and Family Sale because I can say yes to the brands my customers have been eyeing, like BCBG, 30% off, Kendra Scott, 30% off, Steve Madden, Levi's, yep, 30 off. And yes, there's 15 off Macy's Beauty and Fragrance too. Yes, you can also sign up for Star Rewards and earn faster at Macy's Friends and Family today. Savings off regular and already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Fixed Bayonets, comrades, we're back for the last quarter of the Chief Guard of the Republic radio show with your co-hosts Paul Burvin and Mike Tuman every Saturday noon until 2 on WRMN 1410 AM. You could stream us on WRMN1410.com, or you could watch us on the YouTube live channel for WRMN 1410. They have a YouTube live channel. And after the show, I will upload the show and all of our previous shows, hundreds of hours now of content will be on the Chief Guard of the Republic YouTube channel. And you can find that by going to cgr.silink.net. All right, and I've had this book up here. You know, if you go to silink.net, it's got all my books. This is a book that I wrote years ago, maybe 10 years ago now. No, not that long ago. I think it's this is the first novel I wrote. And I wrote it when I started writing it when I was in Germany, so about 2020, and so it's like 8 years, and it states a lot of stuff that I'm stating now. And I of course it's a story, but it makes sense. You could see it happening. You can see how the politicians ring one way, how other politicians start spinning it up. Paul, in my brain, I always think of the worst. I wonder what this guy's defense is going to look like. You think it's going to be the police was racist?
You know what? At this stage, I don't care what his defense is. He's a career criminal. Okay, so I doubt very much if they'll be letting him take the stand, because the prior convictions will be used to impeach him. So they're just going to attack everything. And it really doesn't matter what people's defenses are. To me, at least, like I said to some people years ago, there were very few cases where I had a statement from somebody. And the ones that testified, they only hurt themselves. People admit to stuff on the stand. So, and whatever his defense is, it's real clear. We already know that a woman bought the gun, all right, because she's been charged in Indiana, and there's records on that.
Ooh, that's an interstate felony. That's the feds get involved.
Right, and there's potential, acts of terror here, because they took a weapon from interstate commerce and used it, and I guess he could have killed a hospital employee.
Hospital doesn't care.
Whatever his defense is, it's going to be, in my opinion. See, that's
Swedish has already circled the wagons. They're defending their own asses.
Well, whatever. But I was doing a trial one time with my partner Lewis, and we knew exactly what happened on the case. We knew exactly what happened, because we had all the evidence. And when you hear the other person, it's a story. It's a story. And we were sitting there listening, and I said to Lewis one time, I said, if I didn't know our facts, this is a pretty good story. I think I would probably be believing it. But again, it's a story, okay? It's not the truth, okay? So the truth will come out, okay? And I'm sure, that it's pretty much as we believe it is. And then the question is, what's he going to get? Because there's no death penalty here.
Well, life in prison.
Yeah. Well, but I understand it's life in prison. So what would he technically be fighting for? Life in prison with chocolate bars, or life in prison with cable TV? He's going to get all that.
Again, Paul, it's life in my world, right? It would be life in prison with 5 other guys bigger than you. No chocolate bars, no cable TV. You have to beg them for permission to use the toilet. All right? Because, hey, they're just as gentle as you are. Wouldn't hurt a fly. My guy wouldn't do nothing. They're all trying to improve their lives. Why would they hurt you and risk their life in prison and go into solitary or something like that? Solitary would be bad. So put him with 5 people of like-minded people like him.
Well, there's evidence that these people are so bad that they just they're like, it's really sad to say, but they're animalistic.
All right, so
they attack each other.
Oh my God, let's not get on that. Let's not get there, because I'll go. You'll drive me down a rabbit hole like you wouldn't believe. So
yeah, so anyway. My idea is, throw away the key and whatever. You already got with the bond hearing, and the recent one in Washington at the Correspondence Center. They don't want to talk. They don't want to speak. They don't want to come out. Okay. See, this is what people don't understand. Okay, and I've said this before. The criminal justice system is for the criminal.
Yes.
It's not for the victim.
Don't get involved with the criminal justice system. Stay away from it.
Right. They don't want victim witness statements. They don't want victim impact statements. It's for the criminal. It's the criminal's right. Now, we have rights up until the time he becomes a criminal. And then we don't have any rights. It shifts to, it's like a shifting burden.
You have the Illinois Victims whatever act, and it doesn't cover property crimes. So if this guy carjacks you, steals your car, which is still a crime of violence, right? But the only thing that happens is that he takes your truck, your work truck, that you paid $45,000 for yesterday, that doesn't have full comprehensive coverage because you can't afford that. You just got the bare minimum liability, right? And he crashes that into a train, right? Guess what the state of Illinois is going to pay you for that? Nothing. Guess what you're going to get back from him? Nothing. You're a double victim. You lost your car, he creamed your car, and guess what happens? He goes to court and they go, oh, well, he's turning his life around. Let him out. So then he misses a court date and they go, issue a warrant. Comes back, they give him a warrant. They lock him up on a warrant, and they said, well, don't do this again. Let him out. Now, Paul, was it ascertained how he got the weapon?
Yeah. No, they don't know if it's because he had recently lost some weight. If it was, I'm imagining something, because when you watch all these galas, you know that they use double-sided carpet tape to stick clothing to women's dresses and stuff like that. It's making me wonder, did he use double-sided carpet tape to create a
I don't think he's that bright. I don't think. Well, my theory. My theory is completely different, Paul. My theory is scary. All right. So, dude's locked up on a warrant, right? All right. So, family member or one of his friends follows the police because dude's going to whine that he needs to go to the hospital. Oz can't breathe. Oz having chest pains. I can't feel my toes. Stuff like that. Now he gets into the hospital, and he's not in 4-point restraints, which if I was the police officer, he'd be in 4-point restraints at the hospital. All right? All right? And someone passes the weapon off to him. Oh, no, the security would have wanted him. Oh, right after, they want everyone that comes in off that side door where all the CNAs and bedpan cleaners are going out to catch their smoke. All the janitors and everything have that one door blocked open with the alarm disabled so they go out and get their smoke. Someone comes in there, passes the weapon off to him. Intentionally so he could break free. Because why not? That's my theory. And I hope that body cam footage shows something like that. Because, you could say, he had, I'm sorry, when they wand me and I got both my hands over my belt buckle, my paratrooper belt buckle, which is brass, right? It's going to go ding, 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 ding. When they wand people that have titanium shoulders or knees or something, it goes ding, 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 ding. If they wanded him and he had it under a flap of skin, if it was crazy glued, he's not the type of guy that's going to pull that off and feel that skin rip away either, right? Double-sided tape. What is your purpose for concealing a gun? You can't pull it out really rapidly. It's not a quick draw thing. So I have to go, that's more complicated. We're called Occam's razor here. He didn't take it from the police, right? They say he was thoroughly searched, patted down. I'd pat, you're on the job for a year. You lose all shyness about patting people down. I don't care. Oh, he touched my genitals. He's gay. You're gay, man. You touched my genitals. No, I don't care. You say what you want, dude. Say what you want, dude. I'm going to make sure you ain't got a pack of heroin under there. Right? Because if you go into the lockup and they find that on you, I'm in big trouble. Right? So I have no doubt that the police absolutely thoroughly searched him. Because like I said, this guy's 21 years on the job. Right? 21 years on the job. He has no shyness about searching anybody. Right? Then, right, he gets to the hospital there and they say they're waving him. Right? If you're a security guard and dude comes in handcuffs, right? And you're going to wave him, wind him through, right? Aren't you going to be, like, really serious about that? Absolutely. I'd be absolutely serious, too. He's not your local dude that's coming, into the ER because he's got a broken finger or something, right? He's there because he's in handcuffs because he's got 2 police officers bringing him in, and he's a big dude. Wind the hell out of him. So my theory is he did not have that gun coming in, but someone got in that hospital and passed him off that gun. Absolutely. Now, here, as a detective, right, I used to like to do something, all right? So people grab a theory, right? They grab a theory, and they said, here's the theory. And they work to prove that theory, right? What you have to do is work to disprove all the other theories to make sure your theory is right. But this theory is simple. The woman bought the gun. What's her relationship to this guy? What's her relationship to him? Is it a direct relationship, or does she have a relationship to someone that's related to him? All right? So did someone get this gun from her, all right, and then decide to pass it off to that dude? All right? That's what I'm going to go for. I don't think this dude had the connections to, oh, hey, lady, get me a gun. All right, from Indiana. Well, you're on parole, dude. You're just going to get picked up again, and then you're going to flip on me. Or that gun that I bought for you, unless she's probably a real simpleton, right? There's one case, I'm sitting in court, and they got this old black lady, granny. She's like, well, she's probably 60, but she looks 1,000, right? And who has her in there? The gun team, right? They got her in there. And they're working with the feds. And she was a straw buyer. She went down to Mississippi where she had residency in Mississippi and in Chicago. Nice, right? Where you could buy a gun on your driver's license or your ID or whatever. So Granny was buying all these guns, coming up to Chicago and selling them for a huge profit. Buy a cheap gun down there, maybe used, whatever, $100, come back to Chicago, sell it to the gang for $300, $400, $500. They got a lot of cash that they don't know what to do with because they can't launder it. They can't put it in a bank account. That's it could be a Saturday night special. They'll pay $1,000 for it just to have a gun, right? So they locked this lady up. Finally, right? But how many of those guns killed people? Here's another thing with that Safety Act, right? So you steal a car, right, Paul? You carjack a car, all right? And then you put the car in park in the middle of the highway, jump out and run. Person sees you run, swerves, slams into the parked car that you parked, and they die. They get ejected. They die, right? The airbag gives them a heart attack. We used to be able to clear that as first-degree murder.
Right.
Charge guy. Guess what? Can't do it now. He didn't kill her. He didn't kill her. So now he commit all the mayhem and death he wants. Nope, not his fault. Person shouldn't have been on the road that day. That's what it comes down to, Paul. Victims are the offenders because it's your fault for being the victim. There's 2 people at fault in our current society of the Safety Act. All right? 2 people that are at fault, the victim and the police. The victim for being the victim, if you didn't have victims, you wouldn't have crime, right, Paul?
That's absolutely true.
And you could be a victim, there'd still be no crime if no one's enforcing the laws. So do the criminals enforce the laws? No, the police do. So who's now, if you don't enforce the laws, you still have no crime. So now it's the victim and the police that are at fault for this crime, not the women that gave birth to these guys, that gave birth to them. I'm totally against abortion, right? But they gave birth to these guys, and they raised them, or they didn't raise them. They gave them off as wards of the state, which this guy was, a ward of the state. And I can tell you nightmares about that stuff, absolute nightmares. All these evil, evil pieces of crap seem to be wards of the state. Does the state send them for anger management? No. Does the state send them to have mental evaluation? No. Does the state force them to get educated? No. They drive them to the school. What happens to them after they drop them off? Who cares? They pick them up after school. Who cares? You can't read and write, but you're a ward of the state. And guess what, Paul? If you get accepted to college, ward of the state normally stops when you're 18. Right? But if you get accepted to college, the state of Illinois will put you up in an apartment, pay for it, and pay for your college till you're 26. Nice. 26. Nice. 18 to 26. How many years of school is that, Paul? 8 years.
8 years.
So as a ward of the state,
that's because you're going to be a doctor.
You could be. Yeah. Now, I would have to work my butt off, right? Deny myself a lot of stuff to send my kids to school, so they didn't have to do that on student loans or anything else. Send them to school on all that, or they'd have to join the Army, and then they'd only get 4 years, right, of school, right? And but here's 8 years where, honestly, Paul, you're right. These guys could be doctors, they could be engineers, they could be that. But you know what? They can't spell cat. And they've had 12 years of public schooling. So, but they're the number one field of study at Malcolm 10. Malcolm X, but it's a Roman numeral.
Roman numeral 10, yeah.
It could be it could be Malcolm I.O. Then I'd read it right? Oh, that's Malcolm 10. Or, God, if it was Malcolm 2, it might be Malcolm 11. Anyways, the number one field of study, GED. Yeah, I'm like, and that's on Pell Grants, right? So that's like, public school, 12 years for free. They're practically getting 3 meals a day in all those, everything there. I'm not saying they're great, fantastic. It's not the McDonald's or whatever. But then you send them to junior college to get a GED because they failed to get that in 12 years, and we got to pay some more. Yeah, there's a point. They're an adult now. They're 18. Hey, work or starve. At what point do we get to the work or starve for able-bodied people? What did Paul say? You're Paul, but St. Paul, what did he say? In the Acts, in his letters, I forget which letter it is. It's one of the epistles, right? Yeah. If they don't work, don't feed them.
Right.
Don't let them be parasites on the faith. Everyone else is working. You only should have to work. Even God said, right? 7 days. He worked 6 days and took a day off. That's why they had the Sabbath, to relax. Why do you relax? Because it gives you time to praise God. If you're too busy working all the time, you don't got time to praise God, right? So God doesn't want us working there in our faith. But if you're working for all these people that are just doing nothing, you're working too long. You have the faith because you work, because you care, because you're doing the things God wants you to do. And you're just working for these people that are dragging the faith down. So that's why they don't work, don't feed them. But now, hey, they don't work. They're heroes. Oh, it's not their fault. It's because back in 18-something or other, right? We all started way back in Mississippi when I was a child. That, it goes down to that. No, that doesn't count. All right, so my relatives were probably making mud pies in the farm fields of Poland, maybe serfs in Poland. Serfs were worse than slaves. Where's my restorative justice? What about all the people? All right, so what I'm saying is this guy is the Frankenstein monster of society.
Restorative justice is a panacea. It's a pipe dream. It's
like communism, Paul. It'll work. This time it'll work.
Yeah, well.
Restorative justice.
Maybe in another dimension, but not in this one.
No, because restorative justice means there's injustice for the people that are already justified.
Right.
And it's almost, being a Catholic Christian and everything, I don't want to wish bad on anyone, but honestly, everyone that was involved in this bloodletting of the Safety Act and everything that led up to it, all right, his family, the legal system, the Cook County judicial system, the Lord of the State system, everything that left up to this guy killing a good and decent human being and seriously injuring the other one and just living 26 years of his life like he didn't give a rat's patootie about anyone in the world. And he doesn't. He cares about himself and himself alone, right? I hope these people, they need to have some bad dreams about this. They need to really feel sorry. They really need to be hurt and to change their ways.
Whether you go to church or you don't this weekend, particularly tomorrow, remember this Officer Bartholomew, remember his partner, remember Officer Siriali, remember a guy named Curtis Sims, who everybody forgot, including President Barack Obama. And everybody, these were all victims. Remember the victims. Remember the victims. Remember that poor firefighter that got killed and responding to the arson blaze. Remember the officers that gave their lives in the 60s and 70s in Chicago in times of turmoil who never got to go home. Remember the officers that were killed in by the Wilson brothers or whatever, or start remembering the victims. Remember the victims. The criminal justice system is for the criminal, but our system is for the living and for the victims. And please say a prayer or give a thought to all these officers, firemen, the hospital staffs who've been killed and things, and the teachers and the students. Remember the victims. Remember the women that were carjacked and the people in the banks that are the victims. Don't remember the scum that did it to them.
Yeah, that's why, I haven't mentioned his name. Its name.
Yeah. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Thank you.